eternity. So let me share this quote that Ernest Holmes had. He said, "We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding." That's delicious when you think about it, isn't it? How wonderful. We live in a spiritual universe, a living universe that is forever and ever expanding. Spirit is forever taking form and withdrawing from that form that it has taken. This is the cycle seasons of life. Therefore, change in the physical world is the only permanent reality in the physical world. But the formless spirit, life itself, that which we truly are, never changes. There is this formless life within you. You did not begin and you cannot end. You are immortal and eternal. Ernest Holmes says in this thing called you, the book, this thing called you, the soul is the one triumphant, indestructible, unconquerable thing you possess. Shot from the invisible into this experience, it constitutes your great reality. But why wait for physical death to enjoy and experience your immortal being? Do not prepare to die. Prepare to live, whether you were 10 years old or over 100. There is no death. It is impossible for you to die. Stop trying to die and learn to live. There was a woman, Anita Morjani, who was just given hours to live. She had lymphoma, and she was in the hospital in a coma, and the doctors had said she had maybe like 3 or 4 hours left, and she couldn't walk. Her body couldn't absorb nutrients from food, and she had lesions all over her body, and her organs had stopped working. She was in a coma and ready to die. In fact, she did die. She had a near-death experience. And she says, "There I was without my body or any of my physical traits, yet my pure essence continued to exist, and it was not a reduced element of my whole self. In fact, it felt greater and more intense and expansive than my physical being. Magnificent, in fact. I felt eternal, as if I'd always existed and always would without beginning or end. I was filled with the knowledge that I was simply magnificent. I became aware that we've all connected, that we are all connected. This was not only every person and living creature, but the interwoven unification, and it felt as if it were expanding outward to include everything in the universe. Every human, animal, plant, insect, mountain, sea, inanimate object, and the cosmos. I realized that the entire universe is alive and infused with consciousness, encompassing all of life and nature. Everything belongs to an infinite whole. I was intractably, inseparably enmeshed with all of life. We're all facets of that unity. We're all one. And each of us has an effect on the collective whole. Each of us has an effect on the collective whole. She considered, I was shown how illness starts on an energetic level before they become physical. If I chose to go into life, the cancer would be gone from my energy and my physical body would catch up very quickly. I then understood that when people have medical treatments for illnesses, it rids them of the illness only from the body, but not from their energy, so the illness often returns. So our illnesses begin on the energetic level, and they are then projected into our body. And the way to heal is to change that energetic, and then our body will change. She continued, I realized if I went back, returning to Earth, I would return with a very healthy energy. My physical body would catch up to the energetic conditions very quickly and permanently. I was given the understanding that this applies to anything, not only illness, but physical conditions, psychological conditions. It applies to everything, she said. I was shown that everything going on in our lives is dependent on this energy around us, created by us. Nothing is solid. We create our surroundings, our conditions, etc., depending on where this energy is at. The clarity I received around how we get what we do was phenomenal. It was all about where we are energetically. I was made to feel that I was going to see proof of this firsthand, and I returned back to my body. I was drifting in and out between the two worlds. Every time I drifted into the other side, I was shown more and more scenes. There was one which showed me how my life had touched all the people I had come in contact with. It was sort of like a tapestry. And she made a choice to return to her body. She made a choice to stay here. And 5 weeks later, after entering the hospital, she walked out on her own. And she had no cancer in her body whatsoever. And so since walking out of the hospital, she lived every moment of her life fully, wholeheartedly, and without any fear of dying. She is living. So we make a choice to live our lives fully. Another example, I've talked about this before, was Melon Thomas Benedict. He was dead for over an hour and a half, and he had cancer and wasn't expected to live. And he had a hospice caregiver who he asked when he died if she would leave him for at least 6 hours, because the Tibetan Book of the Dead says it takes that long a period of time for the body to separate from the spirit. So he had asked her to allow him to stay around for 6 hours so that could be complete. Well, he did in fact die, and he learned these things I'll share with you. He says, the information transmitted was that our beliefs shape the kind of feedback we receive. If you are a Buddhist, Catholic, or fundamentalist, you get a feedback loop of your own images. I became aware of a higher self matrix, a conduit to the source. We all have a higher self, or an oversoul, which is part of our being, a conduit. So I often say that the law is the law, and what you get, what you think is what you get, and this is true in the death process also. If you think like a Catholic, like a Buddhist, or like a religious scientist, that's how your process is going to continue when you pass over, when you die. And he had that same experience. He says, all higher selves are connected as one being. All humans are connected as one being. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. It was like all the love you've ever wanted, and it was the kind of love that cures, heals, regenerates. I was ready to go at that time. I said, I'm ready, take me. Then the light turned into the most beautiful thing that I'd ever seen, a mandala of human souls on this planet. I saw that we are the most beautiful creations, elegant, exotic, everything beautiful. I just cannot say enough about how it changed my opinion of human beings in an instant. I said, thought, felt, oh God, I didn't realize. I was astonished to find that there were no evil in any soul. There's no evil in any soul. People may do terrible things out of ignorance or lack, but no soul is evil. What all people seek, what sustains them, is love. The light told me what distorts people is the lack of love. What distorts people What causes them to act in what we judge as evil ways is a lack of love. Creation is God exploring God's self through every way imaginable, through every piece of hair on your head, through every leaf on every tree, through every atom. God is exploring God's self. I saw everything as the self of all. God is here. That's what it's all about. Everything is made of light. Everything is alive. But from my return, I could find nothing wrong with any human being I had ever seen. Previous to my death, I was judgmental, believing that people were really screwed up. And he made a choice to return. He was dead. His caregiver came and was crying and upset. He was dead. He said it was not a near-death experience, it was a death experience. And he was dead for over an hour and a half. And then he saw the light, and he moved to get up, to move toward the light, and he fell off the bed. And he had returned from death, and his caregiver has verified that he was dead. But he says that he had made a decision to leave, but then when he started toward the light, he fell out of bed. What a bummer. or not. So for about 3 months, he was very content. And then a friend of his said to him, why don't you go back to the doctor and check and see if the cancer is there? And so he did. And he went and got the scans and so forth. He said, I felt healthy. I still remember the doctor at the clinic looking at the before and the after scans. And he said, I can find no sign of cancer now. It's a miracle? I asked. No, he answered. These things happen. Spontaneous remission. He seemed unimpressed. But I was impressed. I knew it was a miracle. Yes. So, a miracle had occurred for him. After being dead for an hour and a half, he spontaneously returned to his body and had a conversion of an understanding of how people are really very, very good. We can be inspired by these two stories to step more magnificently into who we are and our being. There's a book written by Kenneth Ring, who is an expert on near-death research, and he's written a book called Lessons from the Light. He says that the life review portion of a near-death experience, when the individual has a panoramic view of his life, wherein virtually everything that has ever happened to the individual is revealed and reviewed, often is a temporal holograph display of countless visual images. But here's the bad news, perhaps, for all of this. You are actually back in all over again any of your experiences that has happened to you as if it were happening once more. In short, you're living your life afresh. Your memories have somehow transformed themselves into vivid recreations of the episodes of your life. So very often in the near-death experience, people have a review of their life. But the bad news is this, that not only is your life reviewed, but in an unexpected, unexplained way, you also experience all of the feelings of the people that you perhaps have hurt, all of the emotions of those that you have hurt, and the pain that they felt. He told a story of a fellow named Tom Sawyer, and that's apparently his real name, Tom Sawyer, who in his youth had a very, very bad temper. And he had in his youth a lovely car that he was ever so proud of, and he liked to zoom around town at high speeds. And as he was zooming around town in his classic car that he was so proud of, someone stepped off the curb, and he had to change course and almost hit this pedestrian. But rather than being filled with remorse, he was furious that the pedestrian had stepped out in front of him and possibly jeopardized his beautiful classic car. So he stopped his car, he got up, and he beat the dickens out of this pedestrian. 35 blows.
Wow.
And left him unconscious laying in the road. So when he had his near-death experience in his review, he experienced beatings, and he felt every blow that he had imparted on that pedestrian, counted the number of blows, 35, felt his teeth being rattled around and broken. He felt all of the pain that he had inflicted. This role reversal in the life review, in which one finds himself directly experiencing the effect of one's actions on another, is hardly unique to Tom. In fact, I was to discover doing the research for my book, it was found quite often in accounts of life reviews and seemed to ram home their lessons for living with all of the force of a psychic body blow to those who experience this surprising empathetic turnaround. I don't know about you, but I actually do not look forward to having to experience the pain that I have inflicted on people. And I don't think that I'm unique. We hurt people inadvertently. I don't think that any of us have deliberately hurt other folks, but we have hurt them inadvertently. And to have to live through that and witness that is not a pleasant thing to contemplate. Could that be hell? I think so. Tom said, this is Tom Sawyer, I felt how my actions or even just my thoughts had affected others. When I had passed judgment on someone else, I would experience myself doing that. Then I would change places and perspective and experience what that judgment had felt like for them to receive from me. Then I returned to my own feelings to be able to respond to the drama I had just witnessed and experienced, to react, for example, with a shame and remorse because of that episode. Multitudinous actions or thoughts derived from my own meanness, unkindness, or anger caused me to feel the consequential pains of other people. I experienced this even at the time I had hurt someone. I had chosen to ignore how that would affect them. And I felt their pain for the full length of time that they were affected by what I had done. Hell, right? Because I was in a different dimension where time can't be measured. As we know it to exist on earth, it was possible to know all of this and experience it all at once in a moment, and with the ability to comprehend all of the information. So my question to you is, how might you choose to change if you knew that on dying, you will get the experience literally of every emotion you ever cause in others throughout the course of your life? It behooves us, does it not, to make a choice to impart love, to impart kindness. When the big review comes, that's what I want to remember. That's what I want to experience again. And right now we have a choice. We're at choice, the way that we choose to live our lives. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind said, and so we prepare not to die but to live. The thought of death should slip from our consciousness altogether, and when this great event of the soul takes place, it should be beautiful, sublime, a glorious experience. As the eagle is freed from the home of a heavy flesh we will rise and return into its Father's house, naked and unafraid. So here we stand at choice, to be kind, to be loving, to be empathetic, to be non-judgmental. Because remember, what you think is what you get, and the death experience is the same. It is within the law. So I think I'm going to live my life in such a way that when it comes to the great reveal, that my life will be standing for good, standing for love, standing for peace and harmony, understanding. And I just hope it's not too late. We believe in the eternality, the immortality, and the continuity of the individual soul, forever and ever expanding. And we are one, indivisible, divisible. So, I wish you a great immortality, a great expansive hereafter, knowing that we never die. We are immortal. So I love each one of you. Namaste.
Namaste.
So I would invite Cindy and Kate as our practitioners to stand and join with me as we have our prayer. I allow my heart to expand with peace and love. I allow myself to make a conscious choice to not only create the life that I'm living at this moment, but create the afterlife in such a way that I can face the evaluation fearlessly, with dignity and grace and with great love. I stand in choice. I choose to live rather than to prepare to die. I choose to celebrate life, to celebrate love, and create it for myself right here, right now, and forever. I am so grateful for the whole entire system of the cosmos and the way that it works. And I am so grateful for my place within the whole. And I allow myself to stride fearlessly, fiercely, joyfully, energetically, and lovingly through each moment, through each day. My heart is filled to overflowing with love and gratitude. And I make a conscious choice choice for peace. I make a conscious choice for harmony. I make a conscious choice to live fully and richly in this present moment. I stand at a cause. And at this moment, I know that I am creating my eternity, my immortality. And I am so grateful for the knowledge of that process, the understanding. That my thoughts, my behavior, are always held with accountability. Because as I stand at cause, I know that I absolutely am creating the effect. At this moment, and for every immortal moment, for every eternal moment. And so with joy, with harmony, with anticipation and excitement, I take a stand for good, for love. And I say, with deep gratitude, thank you, Mother, Father, God. Thank you, thank you. And so it is.
And so it is.